You're listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast, the longest-running Miami Dolphins podcast on the internet.
We're always in control, and when you say Miami, you're talking cerebral. Cause we're the Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins #1.
Hello, Miami Dolphins fans. How are you today? And thank you for listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast on this Wednesday, October the 22nd. I'm your host, Michael Leva, joined, as I am each and every Wednesday night, by Tom Ernest, who has not been hacked, or he was hacked 24 hours ago, but he got his account back. So he's still the man known as Dolphins Talk Tom. Tom, you know you've made it when your account's been hacked.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, starting the evening off right with arguments about subs from like chain restaurants, Subway and Jersey Mike's. And someone said the pub sub clears them all.
The pub sub does not. No, it doesn't.
No comment.
If you are a member of Dolphins Talk Extra, 1 week ago, or maybe now 2 weeks ago, we shot video content from South Florida at a Publix testing a sub. The pub sub, lucky to be in the top 5 of any list of any subs anywhere. Sign up for Dolphins Talk Extra, patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. You can watch the video. There is a
Wegmans review coming from me.
Wegmans review coming hopefully by the end of this weekend. I think we can make that work, Tom. I'll probably maybe be able to do one tomorrow. I don't know. But yeah,
Same. So yeah, I'm probably going to get one tomorrow.
All right, cool. Okay, the team's 1-6. We know. But you're tuning in to have misery with us and have some fun. We'll sort of suffer through this together. But before we get to this show and this week's game against the Falcons, as always, a sponsor of today's show is Caneswear. Everyone go to the website, caneswear.com, for the best and most affordable Miami Dolphins apparel on the internet. They also have stuff for the Miami Hurricanes, your Florida Panthers, the Heat, the Marlins, all the teams and schools in South Florida. Caneswear.com is the place to go. If you're in South Florida, stop by the shop at 2655 South University Drive in Davie. We were at the store last week. We spoke to the owner. He's awesome. The store is awesome. It's got everything you need. And also a shout out to everyone watching at the I Am a Miami Dolphins fan Facebook page, run by the great and talented Carlos Hernandez. And if you're watching this right now live on YouTube, smash that like button. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And super chats are open. If you want to leave us a super chat, first off, it's the best way to support us and the site. Second, we will read your comment or question on the air and give it priority by the end of the show. So send in those super chats. They are open. Okay, let's get to some news, Tommy. I guess the first big news that happened today was Darren Waller is on IR, out at least 4 weeks with a pectoral strain. You know, he stepped up when we lost Hill, kind of. I know it kind of happened in the same game, really, but he has stepped up into a larger role of this offense, and now he's going to be out at least 4 weeks. And you also have to wonder, with them being like 1-6, probably soon to be 1-7, 1-8, stuff like that, is there a reason to have him come back this year? Who knows? Maybe. But what are your thoughts on Waller now on IR?
It sucks because, like you said, he stepped up when the team needed him most. He had that nice game against the Jets, his first game with the Miami Dolphins. And, you know, in his 3-4 games with the team, he's got 4 touchdowns. He was heavily targeted during his first couple games. And then, you know, Tua just hasn't thrown him the football. So either defense is doing a great job taking him away, or the quarterback is just beyond struggling at this point. So, which he is. So it sucks. If the team does, like you said, if they drop the next 2-3 games, there's no reason to bring Darren Waller back. He got a $2 million paycheck. He's not going to hit the incentives. But, you know, you want, as an organization that's going to go through some flux, this is not the time to screw people over. If Waller's healthy, he's going to come back to play. Let him play. Let him earn his paycheck. It just shows maybe to other players that could be interested in coming to Miami, if they make the proper changes, that they'll take care of the players.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just it's unfortunate because he was, you know, he got here, he was hurt, this, that, and the other, and then now he's playing really well. and this happens. So, and he's on a 1-year deal. So who knows if he'll even be here next year. Now, we know he wanted to be here this year. But again, you're going to have a new head coach, a new general manager. They might not want him here next year. Who knows? Let's hope he hasn't played his last game as a member of the Dolphins. Also, in news, 2 players. So it seems like everyone else who is not on IR is relatively healthy. 2 players today who weren't at practice were Julian Hill, who is also another tight end. That ain't good. And Elijah Campbell. They didn't practice either. With all those offensive linemen and with Jason Sanders on IR, no one is ready to come back this week, which, again, I sort of spoke about this Sunday on the postgame show. It kind of stinks because Jonas Avainea kind of needs a break here. He kind of needs a big break. And until one of those guys is ready to come back from IR, he can't get a break. So there's that. And now we transition to the press conferences. And there was Mike McDaniel spoke first. And, though you don't have to, you don't have to be a mind reader to kind of see there's a little bit of friction here between Mike McDaniel and Tua the past few weeks, sort of what they say about each other in these press conferences, very subtle jabs if you read between the lines. Mike McDaniel said today he has met with Tua for 2.5 hours already this week in meetings to go over stuff. And then he said, well, it's not uncommon. Well, if it's not uncommon, then why are you saying it this week? And you've never said it before. So it does one of those things that just make you go, I don't know what's going on here. But then the coup de grace came later when Tua, who is now must-see at every press conference, after games, Wednesdays, must-see TV. I've never seen a guy who is so bad at media, who is so bad at press conferences. Tua Tagovailoa said, and I quote, I'm not the tallest guy. You just don't want to throw blindly, when he was asked about why he can't get the ball to Waddle more. Oh, Tom, why does he like think about what he says before he opens his mouth? Does he clearly doesn't understand the ramifications of these things when he says them. It's like, you can prep a guy for this stuff, and I'm sure they do, because he used like the same word like 4 or 5 times today, which was clearly a talking point he was told to say about something else, really. But then he says this, and it's like, it's headlines. It's everywhere. Tua says he's too short to find wide receivers. It's like, dude, shut up already.
It's annoying. I reiterate, I enjoyed quiet Tua a lot more than talkative Tua. It's like a month straight of press conferences that just something is coming out that just should not happen. Right. I don't know if he just needs better coaching at this point of his career, or he's just past the point of no return.
You can't fix stupid. Some of this stuff is stupid.
Look, at this point, he probably just doesn't give a shit.
Wow.
And that's a problem. Is it that bad between him and Mike McDaniel that you are out there basically just spilling the tea to the media? Because at this point, I think maybe behind the scenes, the team made the decision that this is it for Tua in Miami, and they're just riding it out for maybe a couple more weeks before they maybe hand the reins over to Quinn Ewers. So I think the writing's on the wall, and if the writing's not on the wall for Mike McDaniel, there's zero chance this team can function going into next year if he's still at the helm. I mean, they can't function now. It's just going to get far worse. If the national media and local media and us sitting behind our computer screens can see how bad it is in that locker room, if Stephen Ross decides not to make changes, especially with the coach and the general manager, I don't know what else to say at this point. It's just so bad, Mike.
It's just, and we've said it the past few weeks when he said this stuff, tone deaf, lack of self-awareness. This just proves it. Again, you can prep a guy a few minutes prior, like before he talks to the media, saying, look, they're going to ask you about this. Maybe answer it this way. Or they're probably going to ask you about this, so just be ready for that so you're not, throwing a curveball here. But some of this stuff, and I don't think he says it with malice in his heart. I just don't think he understands the power he has as a starting quarterback, a $200 million starting quarterback, and every word is just going to go through a washer where people are just going to look at it and be like, he said this, you can't say this.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, I mean, if you're too small, he's pretty much saying he's too small to play the position, essentially. And he said stuff like this in the past that's kind of similar, but, not after you sign the contract. It's so frustrating. Yeah, and I know I was going to bring this up because I wrote an article, and this has been a hot topic. Been a really hot topic this week on social media. My boy Seth Levitt put out a tweet and got everyone fired up. He was just on a podcast an hour ago, got more people fired up. And me and Seth aren't on the same side here. But again, I think there's also something lost in translation with what a lot of people are saying and how some people are maybe taking it. No one's saying bench 2-0. I mean, some people are, but they're cuckoo. They're out there. But I'm saying in a month or so, say 1 month after the holiday, after everyone's had their turkey, a little bit of stuffing, a little cranberry sauce. If we're like 1-12 or 1-11, whatever the record would be, like I have no problem benching Tua and letting Quinn Ewers start the final 6 games of the year, because at that point, like it's already over. But at that point, like it's over. And, before we go into this draft with whoever the GM is, with whoever the head coach is, let's see what Quinn Ewers got. I'm not saying Quinn Ewers is the answer. In fact, he's probably not. But let's find out. Stranger things have happened. Some guys, when you throw them out there on the field on game day, they shock the world. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but let's find out before, whoever the GM is and whoever the head coach is invest time in Mendoza, Moore, Sellers, because spoiler, that's what's going to happen. Okay, we're going to be looking at the quarterbacks because we're probably going to have a top 5, probably a top 3 pick, maybe a top 2 pick. So I don't see any problem. Late November, first part of December, handing the keys to Quinn Ewers. Not now, but if we're a 1 or 2 win team a month from now, I don't think it's a big deal. How do you see this?
I think it makes a lot of sense, Mike, you have to pull the plug at some point, and that plug might be after Spain. And that plug should be the quarterback. It should be the coach. And if you've made those 2 decisions, there's only one more to make, and that is sending Chris Greer home with a paycheck and say, don't come back in the building. But we'll keep paying you because, Flores stuff. Won't get into it. But you have to see what you have with Quinn Ewers. I agree with you. Even if he plays well, let's say he plays well, the team still loses, but he does well, and he's got a passer rating in the 90s, and he's not turning the ball over, and the offense has some juice to it. Maybe you got something there. Maybe you have something where he could compete during the summer. Now, if you're drafting a quarterback 1, 2, or 3 in this draft, you're not sitting anyone unless it's maybe Lenore Sellers and you want him to marinate a little bit. And that will be a decision for the coach and the GM at that time. But worst case scenario, Quinn Ewers turns from a 7th round draft pick. Now you got somebody that could be a viable backup quarterback. Maybe even a trade chip if the guy you draft turns into an absolute stud, but it's the Miami Dolphins. Probably not. You want to find out what you have with Ewers starting after the Washington game, because this season's going to come off.
Well, I say November 30th because that's when they play at home versus the Saints. That's the perfect spot to do this.
Yeah, you want to give him a game at home to begin his journey as potentially the starting quarterback.
Yeah,
which is a good team to choose against.
Yeah, so I think that game. But again, even if you wanted to do it not then, but wait a few weeks longer, because that was a conversation I had last night with Josh Moser. He said, well, maybe the last 3 weeks instead of 6. I go, that's fine. I'm willing to compromise on that. I mean, that's fine. But I do think there comes a point, especially if we are a 1-win team or maybe a 2-win team, like you get nothing by continuing to put Tua out there late in this year. Again, not benching him now. I'm talking about late in the year after the holiday next month. It's like, and I know some of the pushback has been, well, you're paying him all this money. Yeah, and he's not performing up to what he's being paid. So I don't care about the money at this point. And 2, it's like, what does that message send to the rest of the team? Well, in my eyes, it sends two messages. One, I don't care what you get paid. If you don't play well, you're getting benched. And two, the rest of this team, let's just be totally honest. The majority of it ain't going to be here next year. Okay, this team is bad. This team is historically bad in the history of this franchise. A lot of these guys won't be here next year. So I don't care about the message it sends to them. This goes back to 2019 with Flores when he kept playing Ryan Fitzpatrick when we're out of the playoffs instead of playing Josh Rosen. You play Josh Rosen, we might have Joe Burrow here in the top pick of the draft, which again, I know he's had his injuries. He also went to a Super Bowl and he's way better than Tua. So, it's like, so at some point, as I said, someone has to be the adult in the room, and it can't be McDaniel and it can't be Greer because they're both probably lame ducks. But Ross, Tom Garfinkel, Silman now seems like he's this third man in the picture here helping to make calls. One of them has to be like, well, time out here, guys. Like, we're 1-12. What are we doing? It's like we have to see what we got here. We have to think about the future. And yes, if we upset some guys on this team, too bad. It's more about next year and beyond, not about, if we win a meaningless week 15 game against so-and-so. It's like, who cares at that point? So that's been a hot debate. That's where I stand. I understand the opposite side, and I do. But I do think there comes a point where you have to think big picture, and that's where we are with that. Yes. Trade deadline. There was an article today on ESPN. Jeremy Fowler and Dan Graziano. Look, someone here wants me to coach a team. You know what? Pay me enough, I will move to South Florida and have public subs and coach a team. So here's the deal. Yes, there's an ESPN article from Jeremy Fowler and Dan Graziano talking about, some of the guys being moved at the trade deadline. Talked about the Dolphins. That took up a big portion of the article because there's a lot to say. So Jeremy Fowler, in a nutshell, believes that Miami will trade 2 edge rushers and someone else. Who the someone else is, don't know. He did say, though, keep an eye on Minkah Fitzpatrick, as he could be a trade chip. And as I've said on shows, yesterday and I think after the game on Sunday, in my eyes, outside of like Patrick Paul and Chop Roberts, like no one's really untouchable. I'll trade Waddle if you give me the right pick. I'll even trade Achane for the right price. Odds are you won't get that price, so it's probably not going to happen. But, Chubb, Phillips, Judon, I think, Tom, are, guys who could be moved for sure. And Mika's a curious one because, let's be honest, the first time we drafted him, he wanted out of here faster than it could be. And we're about to go through a long rebuild again. If he wasn't happy in 2019, 2020, what makes you think he's going to be happy now going through a new coach and a long rebuild? So I wouldn't be shocked if a team wanted to give up maybe even a third or a fourth for Minkah.
Yeah, there's always a possibility, Mike. Yeah. At the same time, I think that's a guy that I think he appreciated the trade back to South Florida because his brother's playing.
It was just 1 year, though. He's gone next year.
100%. Yeah, it's 1 year unless he commits to Miami, but I think he committed to Georgia if I'm not mistaken. It's hard to see the Dolphins keeping Bradley Chubb. His contract is now team friendly. The team that's acquiring him is not going to pay him a lot of money, and he's a free agent most likely next year. Anyways, Jalen Phillips is going to, as little of sacks he is getting after the quarterback pretty efficiently this season. I think he was like number 3 or 4 in the NFL and getting to the quarterback. So regardless of the sacks, I said this on the last show that he's like Olivier Vernon 2.0. He's not getting the sacks, but he is being a disruptor. And being that he's young and he is talented, and it looks like he's knocking some more rust off after those 2 injuries, a team will be willing to get him. And depending on how much they like him will depend on what pick they give up, because if they give up something that's relatively decent, say high end, like a 4th, for instance, which would be a low end 4th at the end of the day, because it's going to be a playoff team. They may want to keep him long-term. They may not. Jalen Phillips may like the situation he's going in, or he'll say, no, I'm not going to sign shit and test free agency. So the Dolphins are going to be smart, hopefully smart, and not play compensatory pick game with a guy like Jalen Phillips, just go get your pick now and be done with it. At this point, what do they have? 11 draft picks going into 2026. They have a first, a second, 2/3, potentially 2/4 or 2/5, depending on where Javon Holland's comp pick will come into play. They're going to have some draft capital. And if you can acquire a 4th or 5th for Phillips, if you can get a 7th for Chubb, if you can get a 7th for Judon, those are low-end picks. But guess what? Those are trade chips. Other teams see those as trade chips. So you package those together and you get to move up your draft board if you really like a guy. But once Chris Grier makes those decisions, if they fire Mike McDaniel, if they bench Tua, they better show Chris Grier the door as well and get started and see whom they can bring in to fix this franchise. And I know a lot of people like Brandon Shore. I know a lot of guys are interested in Champ Kelly. I need someone from outside this building. I need someone that has no ties to this football team, that will handpick a head coach, that will come in here and fix the organization. Before the Dolphins can do any more winning or even think of playoff wins, they have to fix the Miami culture. And the culture wasn't terrible in 2018. Brian Flores fixed the culture. Mike McDaniel turned it back into a circus. The players run the asylum. That has to get changed. Give me someone outside this building, please.
Yeah, it's got to be someone from the outside. I still stand by they're only going to probably make 2 trades. They'll trade 2 edge rushers because someone like Minka, you can easily trade in April, just like they can with Achane. I don't think you need to make that call now. I think you can make that call next March or April with the new GM, new head coach, to see where everyone's head's at there, to see how they fit in the scheme, to see if they want to be here and all that good stuff with Achane, to see how much it's going to cost to keep him. If you don't want to pay him, let's not go through the thing where he holds out all camp and he's miserable. Let's just get rid of him now because they're going through a long rebuild anyways and just take the pick in next year. So I think those moves can be made next March or April. They don't have to be made now. I do think Jalen Wright is someone to keep an eye on, though, because, again, he has no role here anymore. So if you want to move on from Wright, I think there's that as well. We'll see. We'll see about but I do think Chubb for sure, Phillips probably, because it just makes the most sense. And you'll get – right now, I just look, they got 8 picks right now. They got a first, a second, 2/3, 2/4, a 5th, and a 7th. So that's where we're sitting now. So that's 8 picks total. You get a couple more. You're at like 10. I know they're going to be late round picks, but I'll take late round picks. That's fine. You're at 10. And then once again, who knows? You might get a compensatory pick and you might get some other stuff as well. So there's that. We'll see. Look, if they bring, and just sort of touch on this real quick, if they bring back Grier, because I think McDaniel's dead man walking. It's just a matter of when, not if. And if they lose this week to Atlanta in a similar 31-6 manner that they lost to last week, there's a chance. There's no way he's going to be here Monday. If they have another bad loss where they're like non-competitive, blown out by halftime, game over, there's no way he's here Monday. No way. So he's gone. It's just a matter of when. Grier, I'm pretty sure he won't be the GM. But like you said, he probably won't be fired. Give him a work-from-home job, take away his badge, and that's fine. Just send him a paycheck if you want. Who cares? But I don't think he'll be the GM. Could it be a Champ Kelly? Yes. Could it be Brandon Shore? I'm not saying that's very possible, because the one thing we've learned is that this organization doesn't like change. And they rather maybe promote someone that they're more familiar with. Now, look, here's the other part of this. This son-in-law, whose name's sort of, come on our radar here the past week or so, Silman, I hope he has a very large voice in this. From the research I've done on him, from people I've spoken to, he's not an NFL guy per se, but he's very smart, and he comes from a sports background, even though it's not the NFL. The fact that it's a sports type of familiarity he has in his life with that experience tells me that this guy might have a clue of how to manage this thing. So hopefully he can get into the owner's ear. And, he might be telling him, look, don't fire no one now. It does you no good. And that's fine. Honestly, it really doesn't. So, which is why I'm not upset that he hasn't been fired yet. I do think a couple more losses like on Sunday, yeah, he will get fired. But when it comes to the search for the next guy, I want him involved because I think he might be someone who might understand how things work in the NFL a little bit better than the people who've made these calls before, which clearly it hasn't worked out the right way.
Yep.
All right. Before we go on, shout out to everyone listening at finheaven.com. Everyone go to finheaven.com. Largest Miami Dolphins message board on the internet. Also, wherever you're listening, make sure you subscribe, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, Podchaser, iHeartRadio, Audible, and of course, YouTube. And mybookie.com. That's right, mybookie.com. The NBA starting up. I tuned in tonight. I don't even watch the NBA, but I will watch Shaq, Ernie, Chuck, and Kenny. I watched them for an hour. I still got the game on in the background because why not? But I don't watch the NBA, but you can bet NBA. You can bet college football. Got some big games this weekend. And, of course, the NFL. If you think the Dolphins are in store for another blowout, get your money in now. And here's why. You go to mybookie.com. Make sure you use the promo code Dolphins, and make sure you click the bet back bonus token. Here's why. With your first bet you make, if you click that bet back bonus token, God forbid you lose. And no one wants to see you lose. But if you lose, you get your money back like it never happened. And you can just bet again on another game. And what's the odds of you losing twice? So it's like free money, and you get a do-over if you lose. It's mybookie.com. Make sure when you sign up, use a promo code Dolphins and click on that bet back bonus token. So with your first bet, if you lose, you get your money back. All right, Dolphins, Falcons. Boy, Atlanta a few years ago was hot garbage. Have they turned things around? Look at some of these numbers for the Atlanta Falcons. You will be impressed. Total offense, Tommy. Atlanta 7th, Miami 26th. Passing offense. Atlanta 10th, Miami tied for 26th. Rushing offense, Atlanta 4th, Miami 29th. Scoring offense. This is weird. They're top 10 in all these categories. Scoring offense, Atlanta 28th. They're not putting the ball in the end zone. Miami 25th. And then we go to the other side of the ball, and it gets worse for Miami. Total defense, Atlanta 2nd, Miami 26th. Passing defense, Atlanta 1st, Miami 11th. Rushing defense, Atlanta 20th, Miami 32nd, dead last. And scoring defense, Atlanta 8th, Miami 29th. So, Tommy, when Miami has the ball this week, 2 under quarterback, no Tyreek Hill, no Jalen Waddle, an offensive line, it's like Swiss cheese. What do they have to do to put up a fight to stay in this game or win this game versus the Dirty Birds, the Atlanta Falcons?
I wish I preempted you so you could play the clip, but I'm thinking it's going to be like the Little Giants, the moment that the kid gets the ball for the first time and he's just running in a big circle, telling the referee to blow the whistle. Blow the whistle. Blow the whistle. That's the type of game the Dolphins. I mean, if Waddle's out, Waller's out, what the hell are they going to do offensively? It's going to get ugly. It's going to get ugly. It's going to get ugly quick. And you may as well just run Wildcat with Devon Achane and Ollie Gordon. You just run a Wildcat. It's not going to be pretty. You actually have to ask Nick Westbrook-Ikhine to do something more than block, which he's capable of doing. They just don't like him to do it. Malik Washington becomes essentially the go-to guy. Number 1 wide receiver. Taj Washington's going to get elevated. Maybe Cedric Wilson makes an appearance. We're partying like it's 2019 all over again, buddy. It's going to be ugly on offense. Ugly. There's really no game plan. Just run a Wildcat.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of tough because here's my notes for when Miami has the ball. First off, if you're the quarterback, don't turn it over. Throw it to the right team. Second, I know, I wrote these notes earlier today before he spoke to the media. This note kind of now makes you laugh. Find Waddle. Well, for him, that's like playing Where's Waldo because he can't see anybody. But yeah, you're going to have to find Waddle and try to get him the ball. Try to feature other players other than Achane. I know Achan's great, but they use him so much, it becomes predictable. It becomes too predictable now. There's drives where it's run Achane, pass Achane, pass Achane, run Achane, punt. It's like you can't use them all 3 plays. There's got to be someone else. Try. I know you got to try. And they have to run the ball more, not just with Achane, also with Ollie Gordon. Run the ball more. and try to win the time of possession, because you can't have because you can't go 3 and out or turn it over constantly and continue to put your defense on the field. That's what they've been doing. I try to run the ball, keep the clock moving, try to find Waddle more, put him, I don't know how you find him, put him in motion, do something where he can see him, and then don't turn it over, because if he can turn it over at the clip he's been turned over, then there's just no chance. I mean, we ain't going nowhere. Look, we ain't going nowhere anyways, but you really have no chance in these games. If we're going to lose, let's lose by 7 or 10. Let's not lose by 30. So just don't turn it over. Now, when Atlanta has the ball, this is where it gets real fun. I don't know how you stop Bijan Robinson. You better give him food poisoning the night before. You better kidnap him. Joking, not serious. You better do something to stop Bijan Robinson, because they're going to run him to death. And then I might put 2 guys on Drake London, because if you don't, with our corners, he's going to beat them bad. This is as bad a matchup. When people look at the schedule, I think they consider this part of the easy part of the schedule. Yeah, there ain't nothing easy about this. This is a horrible matchup for Miami. We match up way better against some other teams, which is saying something, than we do against Atlanta. Atlanta is a horrible matchup, Tom.
Yes. Across the board, it's a horrible matchup. They're dare I say, they're just going to get run out of the building at this point.
Save it for your prediction.
If that was the effort that they put up in Cleveland last week, I can only imagine what they're going to do against Atlanta. It's going to be rough. It's going to be so bad. Are we doing our fearless predictions?
Not yet. Well, let's go to it. I got to play the graphic.
Right,
hold on. Give me one second.
Let's get to it.
Let's get to it. It's now time for Mike and Tom's fearless predictions. Dolphins at Falcons, 1 p.m. on CBS, live from Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Kevin Harlan and Trent Green are on the call for this game. Tom, what's your fearless prediction?
I feel bad for Kevin Harlan, because he's called some great Miami Dolphins games over the last 3-4 years. It's completely different. We're not going to get – he's got Hill. It's going to be bad, Mike. It's going to be so, so bad. Bijan Robinson is arguably right now the best running back in the NFL. I say arguably because you could still have McCaffrey up there. You could talk about Jahmyr Gibbs. Devon Achane could be in the category of a top 5-6 running back right now in the league. But Bijan Robinson is a different beast. Michael Penix has been fairly efficient. The numbers that you said, offensively, they put up some decent yards, but they are scoring offense is not great until they meet the Miami Dolphins. If Dylan Gabriel and company can pop 31 on this defense, what is a Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts type offense going to drop on the Dolphins? Spoiler alert, it's going to be a lot. And my prediction this week, because I have zero confidence that the Miami Dolphins are even going to be competitive this week, it is going to be 38-14 Atlanta. That is my prediction.
All right. We are in the middle of one of the worst seasons in Miami Dolphins history. Maybe the worst. They can't stop anyone on defense. Special teams aren't that special. And Miami is a quarterback who throws the ball to the wrong team far too often. Everything that can go wrong has gone wrong. The Dolphins have become the laughingstock of the NFL, mocked now daily by the national media on numerous outlets. Numerous. And now they travel down to Atlanta to take on an upstart Falcons team that is on the rise. The Dolphins have the daunting task of facing Bijan Robinson, arguably the best running back in the NFL today. Michael Penix is a quarterback who is improving week over week. And the Falcons, on the other side of the ball, rank near the top in the league in all meaningful categories on defense. Not to mention now, the Miami Dolphins have to find a way to score points without Darren Waller. Rumors are swirling about numerous players on the Miami Dolphins roster who may be traded in the next week or two before the November 4th deadline. Miami's in turmoil. Can they figure out a way to block out all the noise outside for 1 week and put together 4 quarters and come out with a win? That is the question. And the answer to that question is there's not a snowball's chance in hell I'm putting this headgear on. The Dolphins are going to get blown out again. Atlanta 35, Miami 10. Take it to the bank. The Falcons are going to be celebrating an easy win at home in hot Atlanta this week and going out to the Gold Club after the game to celebrate, probably. Atlanta 35, Miami 10. That's the prediction. Let's go to our chat here. People put up predictions in the chat. You can put yours in the chat as well. Jordan's got 56-10 Atlanta. Wow, 56. That would probably get Mike McDaniel fired. We got 42-17, but I don't know which team. I'm guessing Atlanta there, Kyle. Just because I don't think Miami's got it in them to hold a team to 17. So I'm going to take a guess you got them winning 42-17. There, yeah. Here, Abe's got 27-17 Falcons. Yeah, I mean, up until the past few weeks, a lot of the questions are, can we stop anybody? Now the questions are going to turn to no Hill, no Waller, who's surprisingly played great. How are we going to score against anyone? So now, like, you're going to hit, they're going to be hit from each side on both sides of the ball. I know they didn't score a lot last week, but in the weeks previous, they've been scoring like, 27 or so and still losing. I think those days might be over. Shane here's got 42-10 Falcons. Yeah, we got 38-10 from B. McD. So yeah, I mean, you look at the board. Oh, this is a bonus 31-13 and Robinson 166. I think 166 might be low.
I think you're light. Light.
I think you're light on the 166, honestly. I just think this team,
you meant first half.
It's going to get worse before it gets better. And I know, again, we have no joy coming here saying, I know there's still some fans who don't like to hear negative things about their team. I get it, but if you just take off the homer glasses and watch this stuff objectively, they can't stop anybody. And it's not even that they can't stop anybody. This team plays lifeless football. There's no energy out there. I'm not saying they're not trying, because I do think they're trying. Like, they're trying to win the game, but they don't play like a team that just watch every other game. There's teams swarming on defense. They're celebrating. They're helping each other up. This, that. Miami, it's like they're going through the motions. They'll make a tackle. Guy puts his arm out, helps his teammate up. It's like, whatever. It's like they're just going. There's no energy. There's no life. The offense, you got a quarterback who I think has really divided this locker room, which is why we won't have this conversation now. Well, he cannot be here next year. I don't care what that contract is. He cannot be here, even if he's holding a clipboard, because he has divided this locker room and become it's just not healthy. So I don't see this team again winning more than maybe one or two more games, and that might be pushing it. I think if they fire the head coach in season, you might for a week see like a little bit of life, but it's a lot of rookies and old guys on one-year deals. Okay, that's what this roster is. Yes, you have guys like Sealer, you got Chop, who's kind of like coming up the ranks as a good player, and you got Waddle. But this team is a lot of Jack Jones, Rasul Douglas, and those types, as well as Grant, Savin, a lot of unproven rookies. Dante Trader misses one tackle versus the Chargers. I know it was a big tackle. Didn't even play last week. It's like, really? Play him. What do we got to lose? That drives you nuts. Really drives you nuts.
Yeah.
And why you need to
he wasn't listen. The Trader thing with him not playing last week for him missing a tackle, the fact that was his punishment. How about punishing Jalen Phillips for not remembering how to sack a quarterback?
There's a lot of people to be punished. It's like, but that's why at some point in the next month, there needs to be a coaching change, because we got to get someone in there who's not worried about his long-term future as head coach of the Dolphins, who you can tell play the kids, no matter what the mistakes, play the kids. These guys got to get reps. Otherwise, what was the point of any of this year? They got to get reps. So, Max, here's a bold take. The Finns win one you don't expect. 24-23. Max, if they do that, I will buy you a t-shirt or hat of your choice from Caneswear. Max, this is saved. If they win this week, I'm coming back to you. I don't see it. All right, pick segment here to wrap up the show. Last week, Tom went 2-1. I went 1-2. Shows what I do picking the Jets. If Tyrod Taylor's hurt, so they're really going to keep going winless. All right, picks this week. I got mine, so I'm going to give you. Since I'm losing, I'm going first every week. Here's the first one. Here are my two locks. Give me the Bills -7 over Carolina. The quarterback for Carolina there, he might play, but he's not 100%. And then you got the Bills coming off a bye, losing 2 games prior to that. They're going to come out motivated and pissed off. They're going to head on the road and take it out on the Panthers. The Panthers aren't any good. I know they beat Miami. I know they beat the Cowboys. I know they beat the Jets. Those are 3 bad teams in my book. Maybe not the Cowboys as bad, but they're not great either. I think they ain't going to win again. This is a game for the Bills to get right. Bills -7. The other one, the Cleveland Browns aren't winning 2 in a row. I'm sorry, and they're not going to do it on the road either. Give me New England -7 over Cleveland. New England, I think, is going to win the East, honestly, and I think they'll take care of the Browns because the Browns, look, we gave them points. We gave them a pick 6. We gave them another turnover, which put them at the 3-yard line or something. That ain't going to happen this week. Give me New England -7 over the Brownies.
Disciplined football. That's a new thing. It's crazy. I'm gonna stay in the North and not talk about the Browns, but I'm gonna talk about the Bengals playing those stupid Jets. You just when the money's hot, Mike, you just keep riding it. Bengals -6.5 at home against a hapless Jets team who we don't even know who's going to be the starting quarterback in that game. Clearly, he's not going to be Justin Fields, and so give me the Bengals -6.5 at home against the Jets. And again, you want to keep making money, you just go and just keep going to the well. We're going to go to the AFC South, where the Indianapolis Colts, who are one of the best teams in the NFL. I did not have that anywhere in my 2025 playbook that the Colts were going to be as good as they are. And they're playing the Titans, who put up a good fight against the Patriots in the first, call it about 20, 25 minutes of football. And then they got their doors blown off by the Patriots. And that's going to happen in Indianapolis. Jonathan Taylor's going to run for 200 yards, and they're going to blow out the Titans. Give me the Colts -14 at home.
All right, for an upset, it's slim pickings this week. There was like 1 or 2 I liked. I didn't love. But then one game popped off the screen. And I just think this is going to be – I want to make sure I got the line right here before I talk. Let me make sure I got the line right. Because I wrote it down earlier. I want to just make sure. NFL, let me make sure I got this right. High suspense, I know. Oh, my God. Right now, sidetrack for a second. On next Thursday night, the Ravens are already 7.5-point favorites over the Dolphins. Holy cow. Okay. Give me the Pittsburgh Steelers +3 over the Green Bay Packers. Pittsburgh, this is an Aaron Rodgers revenge game against his old team. Pittsburgh, I know they're coming off a tough loss, but they got 10 days off here. They're coming off a tough loss, but I still like them a lot, and they're at home. Even if they don't win, I think this will be a close game. And I don't know. I think Rodgers will be motivated for this one. I think Pittsburgh's, coming off a loss with 10 days. Pittsburgh at home plus points you don't see often. Give me Pittsburgh +3 over the Pack.
I'm going to stay in that division, and you brought up the Ravens. Lamar Jackson starting to practice again. There's a chance he could play against the Chicago Bears on Sunday. The Ravens season is kind of teetering, so they need this one. But I just like the Bears +6.5 on the road. Ben Johnson's got these guys playing pretty damn good football, especially on offense. I think they're going to keep this close, and if Lamar Jackson is going to play in this game, I think he's going to have some rust. And I think this game is going to be a little bit closer than anticipated. Give me the Bears +6.5 on the road against Baltimore.
Yeah, not a bad pick there. Chicago's been sneaky good this year. I know they had some rough losses, but, they're starting to come together with that new head coach and all that stuff. So I like what they got going on there in Chicago. And really, I hate to say this, and I know, if I think it started right now, the playoffs. I think the Chiefs are they're like the 6th seed or something. I don't know, or they're out of the playoffs. I'm not even sure. On October 22nd, I'm going to say it right now. The Kansas City Chiefs are going back to the Super Bowl. I don't care how rough a first month they have. They are looking like they're clicking on all cylinders. Rice is back. Unless they suffer major injuries, I don't see any. I mean, look, Indianapolis is a nice story. Jones ain't beating Pat Mahomes in the playoff. I don't care where they play the game. Jacksonville, I know they got beat last week. They've had a nice season. They ain't beating the Chiefs again this year. The first time they beat them was kind of a fluke. That ain't happening again.
Yeah.
The Bills could, but they just never do. I think the Ravens will make a run and get in the playoffs. They're always a little bit dangerous if they're healthy, so that's possible. But you look, I mean, who's beating the Chiefs? It ain't Denver. It ain't going to be the Chargers with all their injuries. Unless it's the Bills. No one beating the Chiefs in the AFC, in my opinion. Pittsburgh ain't beating them. Cincinnati ain't going to beat them. So, I mean, who's beating the Chiefs? No one's beating the Chiefs. I think, I hate to say it, we're looking at another Chiefs-Eagles Super Bowl.
We could get there. We could get there. I think the Chiefs are just getting into their. Yeah, the Lions for sure would have something to say about it. I think a sneaky team, Mike, is. I think Seattle can put up a fight in the NFC. The way Darnold's been playing and Jackson Smith and Jigba has just been phenomenal. So I think they're going to put up a fight. I think they're going to kind of pull away a little bit in that division as we head towards the second half of the season. The Bills, like you mentioned, they needed the bye week. It came at the right time. They struggled 3 straight weeks, fortunate enough to beat New Orleans, then dropped the last 2. Carolina is a pesky bunch. I don't care if Bryce Young is out. Their defense has been strong, and they've been running the football pretty well. And that's something the Bills cannot do is stop the run. So they're in for a dogfight there. I'm surprised you took a -7 on the road, but
no. I think
Carolina's pesky. Carolina's pesky.
They're not that pesky.
They backdoored covered, I think, 2 out of the first 3 weeks of the year. So
look, beating the Jets is nothing to sit there and pound your chest about. Beating us, when
that's all we got as Dolphins fans.
Yeah, beating us ain't nothing to pound your chest about. And that game versus the Cowboys, they pretty much handed them a win. They pretty much handed the Panthers a win with some of the stuff they did in that game. So I'm not sold on the Panthers. And they ain't winning 4 in a row, I'll tell you that either. So I ain't worried about that one. I'll say this, though, and it pains me to say this, but watch a team like the Bills not win the East, be a wild card team, and that's maybe where they make a run this year and get to a Super Bowl, because each year it's like get home field, win the East, clinch it by November 9th or 10th, then they can rest guys, get ready. Maybe they need a year where they have a few more losses, they go through some adversity in season, a little bit more than normal. They get to the playoffs. Home and road's a little bit overrated. When you're a team from up there or you're a team like the Ravens, the home and road stuff really doesn't matter too much because you can play anywhere with that style of play. It will travel. Watch them go through a little bit of adversity this year and come out of this a little bit stronger for it in January and make a run to a Super Bowl. That would be, if we're gonna watch the Dolphins win 1 or 2 games, that would be the only way to make this season worse, is to watch them become like the 6th seed and make a run to a Super Bowl. That would drive me nuts.
Oh, that would absolutely drive me insane. Absolutely drive me insane. Just remind me of the 2019 season all over again. And, this is the moment. This is the moment in the franchise, in their history, that you just can't screw this up now. You can't do it. You can't revert back to 2019 and win games late in the season. I don't care if you screw over the Patriots again from getting home field. Sure. You cannot do this. Stay where you are. Get your next quarterback. And if that quarterback's not working out, go get another one. And you just figure the freak out, because as much as I sat here and I hyped up Tua for, 21, 22, 23, and even last year, there's going to be a change, right? And
it's over.
It's
over. Realize it's over.
Yeah, it's over, and there's not anything he can do shy of this team ripping off 10 straight wins. That would be possibly the only saving grace.
That ain't happening.
And it's not happening. So they need to get it right. I'm going to be watching these quarterbacks religiously every single week now going forward. Who's the quarterbacks? We talked about it. Fernando Mendoza, Dante Moore, Lenora Sellers. Those are the guys. there are some guys in the second round you could look into, third round you could look into, but when you're drafting in the top 5, don't bring me an offensive tackle. No, thank you. Don't need it.
Yeah, I mean,
I need a starting quarterback. I need a face of the franchise that's going to carry this team for the next 10. You always start with a quarterback.
You start with a quarterback, and everything else falls in place around him. 2020, we had the right approach, bad execution. This time, we're going to hopefully have someone else making the calls. You take the same approach, and there's hopefully that you hit on the execution. And here's the deal. I see this a lot in social media, and people are, well, he's going to be here next year too. Fine. If he's here next year, fine. It don't mean you got to play, okay? Don't mean you got to play. And it don't mean you're going to be handed the job just because he's here next year and he makes all this money. He can be here next year. He can be here next year holding the clipboard. He can be here next year competing for the starting job against a rookie and Quinn Ewers, okay? The days of handing him stuff because he makes a lot of money are over. So if he's here next year, which I don't think he will be, but okay, let's say he is. Let's say they go, you know what? We don't want to eat this much money. We're just going to hold on to him for a year. That's fine. And here's the other thing people need to understand. If he's here next year and if he plays well, guess what? He's still gone at the end of the year. This is over. It's over. The Tua time, Tua non, cult of Tua, whatever. It's over, okay? Because he's talked himself out of here with some of the dumb stuff he said. The poor play, all the injuries, the concussion. Even if he were to come back next year, stay healthy and play good, they're still moving on from him because you're going to have a third head coach for him who's going to be like, you guys got the last 2 fired. I'm not going to get fooled by 1 good year. That ain't happening. He's still gone. They're moving on from him. When they move on from him is when they feel is the best time to move on from him. It's not if anymore. It's when. So his time here's over. If you got a jersey, sell it. If you got autographs hanging around room that you don't want, sell them off. He ain't going to be here much longer. Maybe 1 more year, maybe, but that's it because he's been exposed. I mean, he's clearly not the same guy. And if you're one of the people like, well, his offensive line stinks, he lost it. Well, if everything's got to be crystal clear, perfect for him, then he ain't the guy. Okay? A lot of quarterbacks don't have a perfect offensive line or even a great offensive line. A lot of quarterbacks lose their number 1 wide receiver. You got to adapt. You got to be able to adapt and move on. He can't. He just can't. It's over. This is year 6. It's not like a rookie or year 2 or let's see, and I got to be honest, from a personality standpoint, he leaves a lot to be desired. When he was here as a rookie and he was here that second year, it was all Flores. He gets fired, Flores. He's a bad guy. I couldn't work with him. Flores evil. Now things are going south again with McDaniel, and he throws the subtle jabs at him about, they can't get the plays in on time. I have to sit here and multi. There's all subtle jabs at that coach. Anytime something goes bad, this guy's pointing the finger at that coach. I don't want him here anymore. You shouldn't want him here anymore. It's over. This guy's got a horrible personality, and he can't play, and a laundry list of things that could go. I mean, he's had so many injuries. It's like you're just waiting for the next one. It's over. So we'll talk about that in time. But this whole notion that you can't move on from him or, even if he's here, let's see what happens next year. No, let's see. He's here in name only because they can't move the contract. Don't mean going to be here after that year, even if he wins that. Well, if he wins MVP, he'll be here. But other than that, that's probably the only way he'd be here because any new head coach and any new GM is going to be like, yeah, you're not getting me fired like you got the last 2 head coaches fired. So I'll patronize you for a year because I guess I have to maybe. But bye-bye after that. And hopefully there's that. And here's something else, too. Whoever our next quarterback is, I don't know who it's going to be. If we draft someone like, round 1, pick 2 or 1 or 3, whatever, don't put him on a pedestal like you guys did with Tua, where, everyone who gave a little criticism of him, you attacked him, and you put the guy on a pedestal where he could do no wrong. It doesn't help him. It doesn't help the franchise, and it always will make you look bad. So that's a little message to the fan base. Just treat him like any other player. You don't have to put the guy on a pedestal and worship him. That's not healthy.
No.
All right.
It divided. It completely divided the fan base. But no matter what happens, Mike, whoever we take, it wasn't the right guy, right? So you're still going to have the same situation. The way that maybe we all come together as one and say, "Yep, this is our guy," is he comes out and he plays well and he showcases his abilities. But again, Tua did that in 22 and 23. Fan base still divided. He sucked. He wasn't good last year. Fan base divided. It's even worse this year, but now many people are just because We're just
It
done.
was divided, and this wasn't popular to say at the time because the angry mob would come after you. It was divided because even when he was playing well, if he had a bad pass or he had one game where it wasn't good, you couldn't even mention it without like thousands of people jumping down your throats. It's like we're just treating him like every other player. Plays good, you say nice things. Play bad. Like you couldn't even mention it, and those people are all now scrubbing their accounts. They're all doing a 180. They've all turned on Tua, and those are the people who were wrong about Tannehill, wrong about Tua, are not going to tell you who the next quarterback is. Anyone who was wrong about this guy for 6 years, you shouldn't even listen to between now and April about who the next guy should be, because they were so wrong on so many levels the entire step of the way, and try to shout people down and just, try to just scream at other people online. It was vile and disgusting. It really was. That's all for today's show. Everyone have a great day. Hopefully my next show, Tom's got his internet fixed. I don't know. We'll see. I know who he's working with. No promises there. Be sure to follow Tom on social media at DolphinsTalk. Tom, follow myself at DolphinsTalk. Great interview up right now with Marissa Marino and Jason McIntyre from The Herd, the co-host of the Colin Cowherd Show. He was a great guest. And no, he didn't just bash the Dolphins. He was very honest about the Dolphins, but he actually said a lot of nice things about Mike McDaniel too. So actually listen to the show before you comment. Otherwise, you're going to sound like a horse's ass because you didn't listen. He actually said a lot of nice things about Miami, while giving the fair criticisms that are out there. So check out that interview as well. Everyone have a great day. We'll talk to you again after a while. And folks, don't forget, we must put an end to highway profanity.
Heads up.